All right. So this is our second lecture, and today we are going to cover the next theoretical phase, which is mainly uh, for the interviews. It's mainly by the D school. It's called as the design thinking. Okay. So this question, what is design thinking? What are the different steps? It's mainly for the interview, to be honest. And in real life or in the real world, we do follow that, but it is not something that is hierarchical. You know, you can pick up from any other step and get started. So let me share my screen, and we can quickly start from that piece. Yeah. So yes. All right. So just give me a second, guys. Uh, okay. Yes. This is data. That's perfect. And right. Yes. So is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. So today we are, as I mentioned, that we are going to start with the design thinking. All right. By the way, sorry, this is cohort 4, not 3. My apologies for that. Yes. Cool. So what is design thinking? So this is the theoretical, or if I have to put it in a way, that this is the textbook. Uh, what we say, textbook meaning of design thinking, where design thinking is a problem solving approach that prioritizes the needs of the consumer. As I said in the first lecture, that we are more of a problem solver, we are the bridge between the users and the business. It's based on the methods and the processes that the designers use. So when we say methods and processes, the entire UX process, the entire UI process, the UX laws, the principles of UX, the behavioral science, the UI terminologies, all of that, is everything comprises of design thinking. Okay, in a simple manner. So the first step of design thinking is empathize. Empathize. Now, what is that? When you say empathize in real world, it's the same here also. That you empathize someone. So here in our case, we empathize the users, we empathize the target audience, we empathize the people who are going to use the product, the platform, the mobile apps, everything. Okay. So research your users' needs. That means if I am designing for, say, age group of 60, so I need to know what sort of kids, I need to know what sort of all of that sort. So understand the need of the target audience by involving them in the design process. So honestly speaking, no one does this unless you are in a product company, unless you have a very big budget, you have a lot of time where you can talk to the users, you can talk, get their feedbacks, you can individually, bifurcate them into categories, all of that stuff. But there are only handful of companies that will probably do, right? Because it demands budget. So companies like Microsoft, companies like Google, Apple, all of them, they can easily do all of these in detail. But in our case, what we do is we mostly, right? We mostly work based on the General research. We mostly based on the based on the understanding that we have for the user or what we get from the business. Okay, so that is understanding the user is the first step. That is the empathize. Second is define. Now, what do we define? So define the user's needs and the problems. So first you know the user, that who are the users, and then you deep dive into their problems. Then you talk about their needs. Then you articulate their problem and set the goals. That for this particular user, this is the goal. For X user, this is the goal. Right? So that is the define stage. So first was empathize, second was define. Moving to the third. So now once you know the needs, once you know the problems, once you have set the goals, now you start working towards the solution. That is the idea, right? Where you uh, where you assume something that, for example, uh, office going guy, right? He has a lot of time, correct? So what are the different sort of personas in that area? He can be say a new fresher, he can be a CEO, correct? So what are the assumptions? So based on those, you brainstorm with the team members, you come up with an ideation phase where you say that CEO has this problem, he does not have time. Whereas the fresher, he has a lot of time, correct? So how can the solution be set for both? So you come out with a proper solution for that. So that is the ideation phase, where you think about the ideas, where you talk about the ideas, right? Then, based on those ideas, you start designing, you create the prototypes, you create the visual design. So here, when I say design, it does not mean only the UI. Here, in design thinking, prototype means the entire UX and UI process, which is the wireframing and the UI both. And once you do that, once you create the solution, the final stage is the test phase, where you actually give it to the users. Users then give their feedback, or more than the feedback, you observe the users that this is what happens when what we say, you perform a particular action in a way. It is very easy. You observe all this stuff, that if they are using the mobile, that how good or how better is it for them to use that particular screen, or if they are using web, you observe them, that whether they are able to click that button or not, how long does it take for them to click on that button, all of that stuff, right? Yeah. So that is the sorry so that is the test phase, right? That we tried the solutions. And then this entire thing together, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, is called as a design thinking process. So we further break down into many different phases. So we break down into UX and UI. So in UX, we have the user research, we have the general research. So that is nothing but empathize, correct? Then we create user personas, we create the user journeys, we create the information architecture. That is the define phase. Then we create the wireframes, then we create, then we create the wireframes. That is the ideate phase. From the wireframes, you move on to the UI design. That is the prototype. And once you have the prototype, you test it with the users. Now, for the test, there are different ways of doing it. One thing is you test directly with the design. The other way of doing it is you test them with the final product. So this depends on the budget of the users, okay, of the clients rather. Sorry, clear? So these are the 5 steps. It's more mainly for the interview, to be very honest, that someone can ask you what is design thinking process. So you have to tell them, that it has 5 steps. Mainly empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay. Now, design thinking, these stages are not always sequential. As I said in the very beginning of the call, these are not sequential. Why? So, for example, it may happen that as a client, I already know my user, I already have a working product, correct? So, I don't want to go into the users or anywhere. I directly want solution for these problem statements. So clients may come to us as UX UI designers directly with problems, that I have a landing page. but there are a lot of drop-offs. I have a mobile app, but people are not completing their booking. So these are the problem statements, correct? And they are not really into users because they already have a working platform. They have thousands and lakhs of users. So that's not the problem. The problem is more technical. So we have to give them the solution technically with the idea phase and prototype phase directly, correct? And then the test, right? So as it says, sorry. So as it says that it is not always sequential and teams can often run them in parallel. One team can work on the empathize phase, one team can work on the define stage at the same time. Right? If that is done, teams can work on wireframes and design also in parallel. And if some of the modules are done, they can also work with the testing team or the usability team, and designs can be done in parallel. So it is not like a fixed set of rule that you have to do this in the design thinking process, right? Now, all of these we saw in our last lecture. That first, what we are going to cover is the user experience part. So the very first thing is the user research, general research. When we say user research, right now, let's go deep into the user research. What does that have? So for that, for the user research, there are different ways of doing it, of course, but also for what projects do you do and how do you do for different sort of projects. So now, when we say projects, now think of it in this way that you are working for an agency or you are working for a product, all right? Now there can be three types of projects mainly. One is the existing one. It means that it is in the market already. So you will get a lot of data from their existing platform. For example, if you have, if I am the business owner, I already have an e-commerce website or e-commerce mobile app. Now that means this is an existing product. Second type of project is a new project. Means there are different e-commerce platforms in the market, okay, but as a company, I don't have it yet. So then what happens is I am a new project for the designer because as a client I don't have any existing data, right? I don't have any existing data. So that's why the existing projects, you do the user research in a different way. For new projects you do the user research in a different way. And the third one is new ideas altogether. Now what is new ideas? For example, we come up with a project saying shopping over Instagram. So not in a particular way, but we shop on video. That when the video is moving on and the influencer is talking about a particular product, you can buy it from the video itself, right? So that is how the new ideas come up. So now when it comes to new ideas, you don't really have any existing data or any competition, anything of that sort, right? So now how to do the user research for these different projects. Oops. Hmm. Sit. Yes, Nirvana, I'm teaching. Yes. So coming back, sorry, the Figma stopped working for some reason. Yeah. So when we start doing the user research, right, for the existing project. Now these are all the steps for user research, which comprises for all the three projects, right? All the three types of projects. Now I'll break down. what needs to be done for existing projects first. So for an existing project, if someone is having a website or if someone is having a mobile app, we first need to ask them, is Google Analytics or the heat maps added to their existing platform or mobile app, right? Now, why do we need this? With Google Analytics, we will be able to know how many pages are doing good on the website. If, for example, there are 10 pages, which page is doing good? From where the user is landing the most, from where the users are getting into the website. Is it Google? Is it Instagram? Is it directly, or is it through some blog? Right? So through Google Analytics, we understand what different sort of target audience are coming to our website. Then what is heat map? So in the heat map, we get more drill down approach. So for example, if I'm looking at this right now screen, correct? So as a user, if I'm clicking on the share button, if I'm clicking on the stigma link, if I'm clicking on this full screen, so heat maps gives me that data that where the user is clicking the most, where the user is scrolling the most. Okay, so that sort of data we get from the heat maps. So both are two different things. Google Analytics, it's mainly quantitative uh, where we get the numbers, and the heat map we mostly get the behavior of the user, whether they are clicking or not, how often they are clicking. We have red and yellows and greens, right? So sorry for this, guys. So sorry for that. And then the third part of the research is competitive analysis, right? Now, what is competitive analysis? That since we are working on an existing project, I give an example of e-commerce. So, what I'll do as a UX designer is I will look at different competitions of e-commerce, right? And I'll see as a UX designer that based on the UX laws, based on the behavioral science, based on the UI, everything, how good is the competition website, how bad is the competition website, what is good, what is bad, correct, what is the norms that they follow, everything of that sort will be covered in competitive analysis. Okay, so that gives me a fair idea where and how should my website be. My voice is not clear, so is it too loud, is it too less?
I think it is okay.
It is what?
It is okay for me.
Others? Nitin, what exactly is the issue? Is it breaking? Is it
Sir, your voice it's not clear. Like uh, I'm getting, but some words like properly I'm not getting your voice. माइक थोड़ा या तो या फिर नेटवर्क का इशू हो सकता है मेरे साथ दोनों रीजन.
अच्छा? Sandeep, Tanmay, Khushi, Neha, is it same for you guys
It is
also?
clear. No, no, no. सही है.
It is
Okay,
clear.
okay. So Nitin, maybe some internet issue हो सकता है. बारिश भी शुरू हो गई अब तो हो ही सकता है. Right?
हाँ सर.
Yeah, ठीक है. So, yes. So, I was talking about the competitive analysis. So, we judge that in a particular way. So, वो कैसा होगा, क्या होगा, हर एक का lecture होगा, competitive analysis का भी lecture होगा, ठीक है? But giving an overview on competitive analysis right now. And then next what we do is user surveys. Next what we do is user interviews. Now, user surveys and interview are subjective. Again, if it is an existing project, you can take interview. If it is a new project, you don't have the existing user base to ask questions, you cannot take that interview. But in that case, you can take user surveys with general audience. Okay. Now let's break down. So हमने देखा कि existing projects के लिए, for existing projects, we can do Google Analytics, we can check the heat maps, we can also do the competitive analysis. Okay. For the new project, idea is not new, but the project is new. For that, We don't have Google Analytics data because we are going to build it for the first time. We don't have heat maps because we are going to build it for the first time. But we can still do competitive analysis and we can do user surveys. Okay. And for the third thing, which is the new ideas altogether, you cannot have Google Analytics, of course. You cannot have heat map. You cannot have competitive analysis also. Why? Because it's a new idea. And but you do have user surveys. You can still do that so that you get a fair idea that this particular new idea, how users are understanding it. How users are understanding it. Are they getting the idea? Do we get the validation of the idea? All of that can be done using user surveys. For the new ideas, we can also take interviews with our closed ones. ठीक है उसका हम एक ग्रुप अप्रोच भी बोलते हैं जहाँ पर एक ग्रुप से हम थोड़े डिस्कशन करते हैं वी टेक द इंटरव्यूज ऑल ऑफ दैट स्टफ ठीक है एनी डाउट्स क्वेश्चन सो फार ऑल गुड
सर अगर ऐप हो कोई लाइक कोई
हाँ
ऐप का डिजाइन आता है आपके पास तो वो एग्जिस्टिंग ऐप है तो उसका डाटा रिसर्च कैसे करेंगे लाइक उसमें रिसर्च कैसे होगा
राइट सो फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे पास एग्जिस्टिंग कोई प्रोजेक्ट है क्लाइंट है ठीक है तो द वेरी फर्स्ट थिंग दैट विल आस्क इज कि आपके ऐप में हीट मैप है कि नहीं ठीक है वाई हीट मैप ताकि हमको पता चले कि यूजर सबसे ज्यादा क्लिक कहाँ कर रहा है सबसे ज्यादा स्क्रॉल कहाँ कर रहा है कौन सा सेक्शन वो सबसे ज्यादा यूटिलाइज कर रहा है ठीक है सो विल फर्स्ट आस्क देम वेदर यू हैव हीट मैप और नॉट सेकंड थिंग व्हाट विल डू इज विल डू द कॉम्पिटिटिव एनालिसिस कि एग्जिस्टिंग जो ऐप है वैसे ही जो सिमिलर एप्स है वो क्या कर रहे हैं हाउ आर दे परफॉर्मिंग उनका यूएक्स यूआई कैसा है ठीक है थर्ड व्हाट वी कैन डू इज हम उनके एग्जिस्टिंग यूजर से हम एक सर्वे भी भेज सकते हैं उनको बोल के कि वी हैव सेट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस दैट वी वांट योर एग्जिस्टिंग यूजर्स टू आंसर तो वो एक क्वेश्चन का सबको ईमेल कर सकते हैं एक क्वेश्चन है राइट एंड इफ दे अलाउ इफ द एग्जिस्टिंग यूजर अलाउज कि हमारे जो एग्जिस्टिंग यूजर है आप उनसे फोन पे भी बात कर सकते हैं सो इन दैट केस यू कैन ऑल्सो इंटरव्यू द यूजर्स ठीक है अब वो जो सर्वे में क्वेश्चन होंगे उसी से सिमिलर क्वेश्चन होंगे इंटरव्यू में भी ठीक है कुछ अलग नहीं होगा बट स्टिल यू कैन हैव वन टू वन अप्रोच तो वो थोड़ा एक पर्सनल जब टच आता है दे कैन प्रोबेबली ओपन अप मोर राइट सो दिस इज हाउ यू डू इट फॉर एन एग्जिस्टिंग मोबाइल ऐप ठीक है तन्मय आर यू क्लियर विद द आंसर
हाँ
ओके सो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नितिन ने पूछा है हाउ टू यूज गूगल एनालिटिक्स ठीक है सो गूगल एनालिटिक्स मान लो कि एग्जिस्टिंग वेबसाइट का प्रोजेक्ट आया है ठीक है अब एग्जिस्टिंग वेबसाइट को रिवैम करना है तो सबसे पहले हम क्या देखेंगे गूगल एनालिटिक्स पे कि एवरेज कितने यूजर आ रहे हैं मंथली वेबसाइट पे वी विल फिगर आउट द एवरेज टाइम स्पेंट ऑन द वेबसाइट वी विल फिगर आउट व्हाट इज द एंगेजमेंट टाइम ऑन द वेबसाइट वो कौन से लोकेशन से सबसे ज्यादा आ रहे हैं मोबाइल से आ रहे हैं कि वेबसाइट डेस्कटॉप से आ रहे हैं विल फिगर आउट दैट वो आईफोन से आ रहे हैं कि एंड्रॉइड से आ रहे हैं विल फिगर आउट दैट we'll also figure out whether they are male or female if that data is available. We'll also figure out whether they are coming directly on the website, they are coming through Google search, they are coming through ad campaigns, or they are coming through our blogs. Okay? So this is the purpose of Google Analytics. Once we have that data, we know that if something is performing well, उसको हमको highlight करना चाहिए. If something is not performing well, how do we better that? How do we improve that? So that is how you use the Google Analytics. Clear, Nathan? Nathan, is it clear? I guess there's some network issue with his end. Okay, no worries. Right. So, any other questions? Got it. Okay, okay. Any other question, guys? Else we can move ahead.
Harsh, what is the common thing that we do in all the cases, like new project project? What is the one thing that we continue in all the projects?
So ये वाला जो user research है ना, this as I said, there is no common point here. क्योंकि किसी में यूजर्स है, किसी में यूजर्स नहीं है, और ये जितना भी है, राइट, इट इज ऑल डिपेंडेंट ऑन द टाइप ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट. सो कोई भी कॉमन पॉइंट है ही नहीं.
Okay.
आप सिर्फ यूजर सर्वे बोल सकते हो कॉमन पॉइंट, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. वाई? क्योंकि अगर एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोजेक्ट है तो आप एग्जिस्टिंग क्लाइंट बेस को बेच सकते हो. अगर नया प्रोजेक्ट है तो भी आप आपके यूजर्स को बेच सकते हो, या अगर वो ऑफलाइन बिजनेस कर रहे हैं आप उनको बेच सकते हो. और अगर नया आइडिया है तो भी आप यूजर सर्वे करके आइडिया वैलिडेशन कर सकते हो. So it's only the user surveys that you can do irrespective of the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move ahead to the next part. That is the general research. Okay. Now what is general research? It is that research which is available on the internet for us. जैसे मैंने ई कॉमर्स का स्टार्ट बोला आपको, तो ये सारा चीजें तो हम वन टू वन बात करके या फिर क्लाइंट से पूछ के, बिजनेस से पूछ के वो सब निकालेंगे यूजर रिसर्च में. लेकिन what there are companies like McKinsey, there are companies like Bain and company, जो बहुत सारे रिसर्च करते हैं. Deloitte, they do a lot of research at their end for many different stuff. ठीक है. सो हम क्या करेंगे, we will try to figure out what is the general stats over and above. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल, what is the average time spent by a user on an e-commerce website? Now this is a general stat. What is the average order value of a beauty product on e-commerce? That is a general stat. ठीक है. सो ऐसे जितने भी क्वेश्चंस है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन माय बिजनेस, अगर मेरा प्रोडक्ट मान लो बिजनेस या ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट्स का है, सो उसके रिगार्डिंग अगर मेरे पास जो भी कुछ जनरल स्टैट इंटरनेट पे अवेलेबल है, आई कैन डू दैट. ठीक है. सो आई विल प्रोबेबली गूगल इट, आई विल यूज चैट जीपीटी. पर चैट जीपीटी में आपको थोड़ा पुराना डेटा मिलेगा. आई वुड सजेस्ट यूज जेमिनाई फॉर दैट, गूगल जेमिनाई, जहाँ पर आपको लेटेस्ट डेटा मिलेगा. ठीक है. तो आप वो सारे क्वेश्चन उनसे पूछ सकते हो. यू कैन फ्रेम आउट दीज क्वेश्चंस दैट टू फाइंड आउट द जनरल स्टैट्स. अब इसका फायदा क्या है सर? तो अब इस जनरल रिसर्च का फायदा क्या है? इट इज सिंपल कि व्हेन यू मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट फेज, ठीक है, यू कैन कन्विंस द क्लाइंट इवन बेटर. कैसे? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, let's take the same example of e-commerce. Now, say for example, the client is saying that I don't need a big prominent search on the navigation. Rather, I want categories on the top. But if you see the general stat, okay, more than 90% of the people first search on e-commerce rather than clicking on categories. Do you guys agree? आप कभी कैटेगरी में जाके सर्च करते हो या कैटेगरी में जाके एक्सप्लोर करते हो? You directly search, correct?
Yes.
Correct. So now that is the general stat. ठीक है. The percentage, the 90%. एग्जाम्पल कोई बोलता है कि आई वांट लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स ऑन माय फर्स्ट फोल्ड. अब फर्स्ट फोल्ड क्या है वो हम बाद में देखते हैं. मान लो द मोमेंट द वेबसाइट लैंड्स, opens up, the first screen that you see, that is called as the first fold. ठीक है. Now if a client says that I want this particular button on the first fold, I also need the follow button on the first fold, I need the share button on the first fold. सब कुछ मुझे फर्स्ट फोल्ड पे चाहिए ताकि यूजर जब लैंड हो वेबसाइट पे उसको पता चलना चाहिए क्या वेबसाइट है. ये बिजनेस बोलता है, ये क्लाइंट बोलता है. Now as a UX designer, it is our duty to tell him that sir, as a general stat, as a general research, and being the UX designer, we have the analytics with us that 95% of the users landing on the website, the first action that they do is they scroll. What do they do? They scroll. They never click. The first time users. If you observe your behavior also, people will scroll. You never click on the banners. You never explore the banners. Do you do? No, right? You always scroll. So that is what you get from the general analytics, from the general stats. Okay? Same as with the user stats. कि यूजर स्टैट्स में हम स्पेसिफिकली इस पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट के लिए इस पर्टिकुलर पर्सोना के लिए अगर कुछ स्टैट्स है नाउ दीज आई एम टेलिंग यू दीज फोर डेटा पॉइंट्स दीज आर नॉट मैंडेटरी फॉर ऑल द प्रोजेक्ट्स व्हाई क्योंकि कुछ कुछ डेटा आपको पता ही होगा तो वो हमको निकालने की जरूरत नहीं है जैसे अभी मैं आपको स्क्रोल का रेशियो बताया मैंने आपको बैनर का रेशियो बताया सर्च का रेशियो बताया तो ये सारे डेटा आपको पता ही है करेक्ट why when you have to do this when the project is new आपको भी आपके पास भी कोई डेटा नहीं है and at the same time the business has a specific requirement which is against the UX terminology UX laws that is when you use this general stats general analytics user stats and user data to back your point and to convince the users sorry convince the client that no sir what you are saying should not be done because of these reasons. क्लियर है और ये जो डेटा है ये आपको सब गूगल और चैट जीपीटी वगैरह पे भी मिलेगा इसका और कोई सोर्स नहीं है एनी डाउट्स एनी डाउट्स एनीवन नो ओके
No, sir.
ठीक है so now coming to the next piece once you are done with all this research data the next actionable item that you have to do is you have to create user personas now. Now, how do you create user personas? Our third lecture is entirely on that. That we create user personas. ठीक है? ठीक है? But what exactly is user persona? So in user persona, you define the target audiences. जैसे मैंने e-commerce का बोला and मान लो the product is beauty product. So who would be my target audience? One can be a working professional lady. One can be a college going student, a woman, a girl. One can be a husband who is buying gift for his wife. One can be a guy, a college going guy, buying gift for his girlfriend, right? But the majority of the target audience are women. But there are still those two target audience were men, correct? So we identify these personas and then we create user personas based on this. मोटा मोटा समझ में आया what is user persona?
हाँ.
Others?
Yeah.
Okay, ठीक
Yes,
है,
sir.
ठीक है. So we understood the hierarchy. Let's revise it a bit. So we saw the design thinking process where the first step is empathize, the second step is define, the third step is ideate, fourth is prototype, fifth is test. Once we have the design thinking process in place, okay, that is going to be throughout the process anyway, right? The very first step that we do is the user research. We understand the users, correct? We deep dive into the different tools that we need, the Google Analytics, heat map. We do the competitive analysis. We do user surveys, user interviews. All of these will help us create the user personas ultimately because we will know what are the target audiences. We will know what the users are liking it, what the users are liking. We will know what is good, what is bad on the competition. So based on that, also we can mention that in our personas. Correct. Then we'll do the general research just for backing up our designs, our research, and making it more stronger. And all of these then will help us to create the user personas. Right. And once we have the user personas, right, then we move ahead to the next part जो हम आगे देखेंगे. So user persona के बाद आएगा journey maps. After journey maps, we will have the information architecture, and after information architecture, we'll move to the wireframes. Okay, this would be the approach overall. So now I know I said that we won't be covering sigma and all, but are we all aware about these basic things? Because अगर इतना आता है तो आप सिग्मा में एटलीस्ट बना तो सकते हो सब कुछ. You know about artboards and frames, everyone?
Yes.
I am sure shapes सबको पता है, square, rectangle, circle, line, and individual और एक चीज का properties, the width, the height, you know, the shadows, the blur effect, the text, सब कुछ. So उसका ज्यादा नहीं लेंगे हम सिग्मा का, but just to give an overview, right? Now moving ahead, I would like to explain one particular thing to you guys very precisely, right? Hmm. काम. आप स्कूल जाते हो ना, वैसे बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट हैं अभी. आप बैठ जाओ. ठीक है. For this I'll have to share my Chrome. So let me do that. Yes. So everyone knows कि हमारा स्क्रीन का रेजोल्यूशन क्या होता है, करेक्ट? यस और नो? Guys, are you aware about the screen resolution?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So there is one more thing जो मैं फर्स्ट फोल्ड बता रहा था, करेक्ट? So let me share my screen, my entire screen rather. Wait, Nirman. So when I see this, right? When you see this entire thing, correct? Starting from this corner to this corner, we have a resolution. So currently my desktop resolution is 1920 by 1080. So let me show it. What is my screen resolution? So it says 1920 by 1080. Correct? So किसी का
Yes.
1440 by 900 होगा, किसी का 1440 by 1024 होगा, किसी का 1366 by 768 होगा. Great, Nirman. Correct? So there would be different resolutions. Now coming to the main part of it, this is very crucial to understand, because before we start designing anything, we need to know this funda called as viewport. Now what is viewport? So when I see this right now on my screen, uh, yes, so now when I see this on my screen, where is it? One wait please. Yeah. So as I said, starting from the corner left to the corner bottom right, it is my screen resolution. But if you closely watch this screen now of the website, okay, of the website, it starts from here and it ends here. It does not start from the top, it does not end at the bottom. Now this area, the viewable area, this viewable area I'm not sure if you can see my print screen. Ah, you can, right? Oh no, you guys cannot. Okay. So this viewable area, this one thing, right? That is called as the viewport. Now, what is my viewport? So you'll see that my viewport size is 1920 by 945, whereas my resolution is 1920 by 1080. Correct? Here also, if you see, correct? They mentioned it here only. I didn't look at that. So now the browser's window size without the taskbar, which is this bottom taskbar, without the toolbar, which is the top bar, and without the address bar, which is this. So you approximately always subtract 250 pixel from the height to get your viewport. ठीक है? Why so? Because some may have the bookmark bar on the top here. Some may have, in the Mac, you can have a greater height, but you will have that at the task manager at the bottom, correct? So approximately an average, you cut 250 pixel from the height. ठीक है, you minus the 250 pixel. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah. So that is my viewport. So now coming back to Figma, okay, and I'll explain it to you. How does it make a difference? Yes. So now 10 minutes, Nirman. 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Nirman, 10 minutes, Babu. 10 minutes. So let me open up a new design file. So if I create, say, a new design using my resolution, what impact and how does it look like? So I'll take a frame of uh, of 1920 by 1080, right? And let me add uh, a screenshot to this. The same screenshot that we used here. Okay. So I'm taking the entire screenshot right now. Okay. And I'm pasting it here in this. So when I preview this, I will get a full view. I will get a full view of this. Correct? Correct? I'm getting a full view. Now, if for example, I open the same thing in the browser, I won't get the same result. So for that, as I mentioned, we will reduce the height by 250 pixel. So for the resolution 1920 by 1080, we usually take the height as 850 or 900. We will take it as 850. Correct? So then what we do is we then have something like this. Correct? So when I then preview this, and I go to my prototype, I select custom size and I still write 1920 by 850 here also. So this is the exact same thing that I will see in the browser. Because in the browser I will already have the taskbar, I already have the address bar, the space for the taskbar will be cut. So this is the actual size where I have to design. Clear? So that's the difference between a resolution and a viewport. So whenever we design a website, it always has to be in the viewport, not the resolution. This is the major mistake everyone does designing the website. Is it clear, guys? No doubt, complications, difficulties. Anyone? Tanmay, Sandeep, Nitin, Neha, Khushi, Drishti. Is it clear?
Yes.
Perfect. Super, super, super. ठीक है. So now what you all have to do is as an assignment. आज के लिए ज्ञान बहुत सारा हो गया. Now coming to the assignment. All of you all have to use Figma. Now this is only so that you guys are very well versed with Figma and you guys know how to use Figma. And using this viewport and everything. Forget about grid, forget about the actual font sizes, just similar lagna chahiye. What you'll have to do is, again let me share this. This is a website, pitch.com. Okay, so every one of you all have to replicate this website as it is, not the animations at all, not the animations. You all have to replicate the website, use this, take this graphics from the background, you know, the top menu bar, this font hierarchy, the buttons, these graphics. You don't have to design this graphic. Just add a box or add a screenshot for this particular piece. Okay. ये जितने भी infographics are that you don't have to design. You have to apart from that everything you have to design. This titles, add some logos, these titles with this color. So everything you have to replicate. Okay. So idea here is you have to replicate the website as it is keeping the infographic aside. So infographic की जगह आप infographic का screenshot डाल दो चलेगा. Rest everything you have to design in Figma. Is it clear? कोई doubt? कोई questions?
वो पीछे एलिमेंट्स है ईगो सेक्शन में, वो कैसे कॉपी होंगे?
नहीं एनिमेशन कॉपी नहीं करना है.
एलिमेंट्स है ना वो, सर आप बोल रहे बैकग्राउंड में है जो
एलिमेंट्स
कॉपी कर।
मैं तो एनिमेशन समझ गया. एलिमेंट्स हाँ सो एलिमेंट्स आपको एक्सट्रैक्ट करना पड़ेगा.
आई थिंक ये नहीं होंगे ये वाले।
सब होंगे सब होंगे. सब कुछ कॉपी हो जाएगा. अगर नहीं समझ में आ रहा है वो गूगल इट. थोड़ा आरएन भी करना पड़ेगा फॉर यूएक्स डिजाइनर. अगर मैं ये सारी चीजें स्पून फीड करूंगा ना मैं कर सकता हूँ. इट विल टेक ओनली अ मिनट फॉर मी टू शो यू कि वो कैसे करते हैं. बट यू गाइस विल लर्न इट देन. यू गाइस विल बाय हार्ट इट. एंड बाय हार्ट करने वाला जो काम है वो भूल जाओगे. फिर अगेन याद आएगा अरे सर ने क्या बोला था. लेट मी सी, लेट मी लुक एट द वीडियो, फिर मैं देखता हूँ. ठीक है. सो गूगल इट. अगर कहीं अटकते हो तो ठीक है कैसे एक्सट्रैक्ट करना है वो सब तो आपको मिल जाएगा इजीली. पास्ट में जो बैचेस हुए हैं उसमें भी बच्चों ने बनाया है वेरी क्लोजर रेप्लिका. आई एम नॉट जोकिंग. so they also tried and उनको मिल गया सोल्यूशन इजीली एंड दे कैन स्टिल नो. इसका रीजन ये है कि जब आप आगे चल के डिजाइन बनाओगे एंड इफ यू वांट सम एलिमेंट्स ताकि आप उसको एडिट कर सको यू शुड बी एबल टू नो. ठीक है. सो दैट इज व्हाई ट्राई इट. हो जाएगा आई एम श्योर. सो यू हैव टू रेप्लिकेट दिस वेबसाइट एज इट इज. I have never used Figma. So Drishti, that is why you have to use this particular assignment as a challenge, as a task, which will help you learn Figma. And I've also shared the Figma tutorials in the group. I would request you to go through that tutorial in and out first, and then start doing this on Figma. किसी और को कुछ queries, concerns, doubt, questions? When is the submission? So submission, I will check this live in our next lecture, that is on Tuesday. So you have good amount of time. We have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days. So that's why I have given you guys a assignment which is time consuming. अगर किसी को जल्दी हो जाता है send it across to me. I will give you another assignment. But make sure that you do this. खाली होम पेज है by the way. सिर्फ होम पेज ही रेप्लिकेट करना है पूरी वेबसाइट नहीं. Any other doubts? Anyone?
सर आइकन वगैरह ये कॉपी कहाँ से करना है, मतलब ये कैसे?
सब वेबसाइट से.
ओके सर.
खुशी Sandeep,
Yeah.
is it clear?
Yes. Clear.
Okay, great. Tanmay, Sandeep, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Super, super, super. Okay, so that's it for today. The reason I am taking a little shorter lectures initially is वरना ज़्यादा bombarding हो जाएगा and difficult हो जाएगा थोड़ा cope up करना, right? So initial lectures थोड़े छोटे होंगे. Once we get into the actual designing, तब lectures थोड़े लंबे चलेंगे for about 2 hours. ठीक है? So yes, I am waiting कि सब लोग डिजाइन करें जितना हो सकता है कंप्लीट करके लाओ. अगर वो कंप्लीट नहीं करोगे ना तो आप कहीं ना कहीं वो हमेशा लैक करते जाओगे. यू विल कीप ऑन lacking something or the other if you don't try to replicate the existing websites, because that is the first thing to do as a UI UX designer. Replicating the design thinking will come out slowly, gradually, but first you need to be so hands on with the tool, with everything, the detailings. This will help you create that eye for detail, right? So on Tuesday, when I look at the replicas, I will also point out what is right, what is not right, why it is not right, correct? So that eye for detail will be developed slowly and steadily. Clear है?
सर
हाँ
हेलो
जी.
या आई हैव अ डाउट वो लास्ट तक वो पूरा इंफॉर्मेशन जो लास्ट उसका पार्ट है उधर तक पूरा रेप्लिकेट करना है.
Yes.
ओके ओके